Before our section, we start with the thought. You have to dream before your dream can come true. So in this lesson, what we have discussed in the previous class, we have discussed what is Himalayas, where it located, so and so. Okay, let us continue the balance class. The Himalayas. We know where is Himalayas, isn't it? Yes, it constitutes the core part of northern mountains. So in the northern side, it is the Himalaya is the central part, the main part of the northern mountain. Already we saw this Himalaya is an young fold mountain. Why it is called young? Because it was formed only a few million years ago. And it is called as a fold mountain. Why? Because it was formed because of the Angara landmass in the north. So the landmass in the north was called by Angara landmass, and the landmass in the south was called by Gondwana landmass. So due to some movement, the Angara landmass, the north, the Gondwana landmass, when it comes together, it forms like a fold mountain, and that mountain was called as a Himalayas. So that's why it is called as a fold mountains. Yes. So when it comes together, when the Angara landmass and the Gondwana landmass, when it collide, the sea in between. Okay, so between the two landmass, they got the sea called as the Tets. So the sea, the sediment in the sea uplifted by the compression, and the resulted landform was the Himalayas. So the sediments uplifted and formed the landmass, and it is in the fold, and that's why this is called as the fold mountains. So the Himalayas are also called as the fold mountains. Next, we are going to see the divisions. What are the divisions of the Himalayas? It is divided into three main divisions: Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalayas, and the Shivaliks. First one is the Greater Himalayas. Why it is called a Greater Himalayas? Because it is continuously stretched from west to east. So it is about 25 kilometer wide. So it is about 25 kilometer wide, and its average height is about 6,000 meter. So it is 25 kilometer wide, and the height is about 6,000 meter. Next, it received lesser rainfall. So it is only a less rainfall when compared to the other two Himalayas. That means the Lesser Himalayas and the Shivaliks Himalayas. So in this map, you can see the first one, the continuous mountain range is called as the Greater Himalayas, and next to the Greater Himalayas, which is discontinued, is called as a Lesser Himalayas, and the next to the Lesser Himalayas and the last Himalayas called as the Outer Himalayas. Next. The physical weathering is less effective as compared to the other ranges. So here the physical weathering is less effective. What do you mean by the physical weathering? The changes taken place in the soil or a rock material because of the weather condition is called as a physical weathering. So here this physical weathering is less as compared to the other two Himalayas. Here, Mount Everest in Nepal and Kanchenjunga between Nepal and Sikkim are the lofty peaks. That means the tallest peaks of the Himalayas. This range is the most continuous of all the ranges. So we already saw it is the most continuous. It doesn't have any segregations or the discontinue between them. So, and it also have the permanent snow cover. So here we can see many glaciers. The Gangotri, Yamunotri, and Siachen are some of the important glacier found here.
Sister, sorry.
Yes, Ji?
Sister, there you go. It is slide show. Slide show.
Okay.
Option slide show.
Yes.
From current கொடுங்க. Second option இருக்கு பாருங்க. From current. Second கீழ வாங்க. Yes,
Okay.
sister.
Okay.
Carry on, sister.
Next we are going to see the Lesser Himalayas. This Lesser Himalayas is also called by the name Himachal. It is the middle range of the Himalayas. Why it is? Because it is in the middle of the Greater Himalayas and the Shivalik Himalayas, and its heights varies from 3,700 meters to 4,500 meter, and its width, okay, and its breadth varies from up to 80 kilometers. So it is the middle range of the Himalayas, and its heights varies from 3,700 to 4,500 meter, and its width varies up to 80 kilometers. Next, we are going to see the major rocks, different types of rocks found in this range. They are slate, limestone, and quartzite. This all you know the different types of the rock found in the lesser Himalayas. This region is subjected to extensive erosion due to heavy rainfall. Here the lesser Himalayas receives heavy rainfall. So because of the rainfall, they create some erosions. So it often subjected to the extensive erosion because of the rainfall, heavy rainfall, deforestation. What do you mean by the deforestation? Cutting of trees is a deforestation, and urbanizations. The urbanizations are the creating of the urban there. So these are all the main reasons for the erosions in this place. Next, we are going to see important ranges. What are all the important mountain ranges here? Pirpanchal, Dauladar, Mahabharat. These are all the important mountain range of the lesser Himalayas. And we are going to see the hill stations. Okay, the famous hill stations are Shimla, Mussoorie, Nainital, Almora, Ranikhet, and Darjeeling. These are the famous hill stations found in the lesser Himalayas. So, what are the in the lesser Himalayas? We saw what are the important ranges, important mountains, important hill stations, why the soil erosion is being taken place here, and what are the different types of rocks found here, and the what is its what its width and its extension ranges. Next, we are going to see the Shivaliks are the outer Himalayas. So it is also called as the outer Himalayas and Shivaliks. It extends from Jammu and Kashmir to Assam. So in this map, you can see it extends from Jammu and Kashmir till the Assam. Okay, it is partly made by the debris brought by the Himalaya. What do you mean by the debris? Small stones. Okay, so it was brought by the Himalayan rivers. So the Shivaliks, it will be filled partially, half it will be filled with this debris brought out by the Himalayan rivers. Next, we are going to see the latitude varies from. Okay, what its latitude ranges? It varies from 900 to 1100 meters elevation of this ranges. That means the height of this ranges 1300 meters, and its width varies from 900 to 1100 meters. So here you can see the Shivaliks where it originated, where it stretches. Next, the width varies from 10 kilometer in the east. So it starts from east and it reaches west, from west to east. So in the west, the width is 50 kilometer, and in the east it is 10 kilometer. Next, in between the Shivaliks and the lesser Himalayas, they create some urbans called as a Dans in the west and Dwas in the east. So because of this fertility, here the urban colonies formed, and that is called by Dans in the lesser Himalayas, it means in the west, and Dwas in the east. So you can see the houses here. So this is called as a dance. This type of civilization is called as a dance in the west and Dwas in the east. Next, we are going to see the Parvanchal hills. These are the eastern offshoot of the Himalayas. So where it situated? It is in the eastern side of the Himalayas. So it extended in the northeastern state of India. So where it is extended or where it is located? It is located in the northeastern state of India. Next. So here you can see where is the Parvanchal Hills situated. Most of these hills are located along the border of India. So here you can see this is the border of India. No. So here the most of the hills are located along the okay. So located on the border of India and also Myanmar, while others are inside the India. So main it was border and Myanmar, and some are inside the India. And we are going to see the famous hills or the hills of the Parvanchal. Dafla Hills, Abor Hills, Mishmi Hills, Patkai Bum Hills, Naga Hills, Manipur Hills, Mizo Hills, Tripura Hills, Mikir Hills, Garo Hills, Kashi Hills, and Jaintia Hills are known as the Parvanchal. So these are all the hills together we call it as a Parvanchal Hills. So now you know where this Parvanchal Hills. It is in the eastern offshoot of eastern side of the Himachals and in the northeastern side state of India. Most of the hills are located in the along the border of India and Myanmar, while some are inside the India. And what all the hills formed Parvanchal Hills are saw here. Next, we are going to see the importance of Himalayas. What are all the important of the Himalayas? Yes. Himalayas block southwest monsoon winds and causes heavy rainfall to India. Okay, so it blocks the southwest monsoon winds. So the monsoons, it blocks the, okay, it obstructs the winds not to cross over the Himalayas. So because of that, here we are North India receive the heavy rainfall, and it also formed the natural barrier to the subcontinent. Because of that, we are called it as a name also by the subcontinent. Next, it is the source for many perennial rivers. What do you mean by the perennial rivers? Every all throughout the year we will have water in the river, so that type of river is called as a perennial rivers. So the many perennial rivers like Indus, Ganges, Brahmaputra all have started from the Himalayas. So it is called as a sources for many perennial rivers. Next, it described as a paradise of tourists due to its natural beauty. Yes, see, we also would like to go to Himalayas because of its beauty. No, so likewise, it is like a paradise for the tourists. Okay, heaven for the tourists to visit because of its natural beauty. Many hill stations and pilgrim centers like Amarnath, Kedarnath, and Vaishnavi Devi temples are situated here. So the many famous hill station and pilgrims religious center, okay, pilgrim center, religious centers. The temples like Amarnath temple, Kedarnath, and Vaishnavi Devi temples are situated on the Himalayas. Next, it also provide raw materials. Okay, it also provide raw material. That means that timber and the wood it provides, and it also prevent the cold winds. Okay, it prevents the cold winds from the Central Asia. The mountains prevent the cold winds from the Central Asia to enter India, and renowned for rich biodiversity. There we have the different types of species animals living in the Himalayas. So for this and all, the Himalayas are very important for India. First one, it blocks the monsoon winds and cause a heavy rainfall, and it acts as a natural barrier, and it is a source for many perennial rivers like Indus, Ganges, Brahmaputra, and it is a paradise tourist spot because of its natural beauty, and many hill stations like Amarnath, Kedarnath, and Vaishnavi Devi temples are situated here, and it also provide raw material and prevent the cold winds from Central Asia. So from this we come to know that much how much this Himalaya is important for India. Next, we are going to see the longitudinal division of Himalaya. What are the divisions of Himalayas? It has the mountains between the river of Indus and Satluj is called by Kashmir, Punjab, Himachal, Himalayas. So the between this river, the mountains present is called as a Kashmir, Punjab, Himachal, Himalayas. And next one between the river of Satluj and Kali, the Himalaya is called by Humayun Himalayas. And between the river Kali and Tista, it is called by Central Nepal Himalayas. And between the river Tista and the Dihang, it is called by Assam Eastern Himalayas. So these are all the divisions of Himalayas. Between Indus and Satluj, Kashmir, Punjab, Himachal, Himalayas. Between Satluj and Kali, Humayun Himalayas. Between Kali and Tista, Central Nepal Himalayas. Between Tista and Dihang, Assam Eastern Himalayas. This you can also see by here. See, this is called as a Punjab. The mountains between these ranges called as a Punjab Himalayas, and here it is called by Humayun Himalayas, and here it's called by Nepal Himalayas, and here it is Assam Himalayas, and here it is the Sikkim Himalayas. Yes, next we are going to see the Great Northern Plains. So here you can see where this Great Northern Himalayas located or extended. So from Rajasthan to till Assam. The fertile land extending across 7 North Indian states. So it covers the 7 North Indian states. So it covers the 7 states. Forms the Great Northern Plains. Yes. It lies to the south of Northern Mountains. So it lies to the southern part of the Northern Mountains. That means southern part of the Himalayas. This plain contains alluvium. What is the alluvium? The alluvium soil is very good for the agriculture. So it is also called as the agricultural land. Why it is alluvium? Because the deposition of the river deposited, okay, the sediments brought out by the rivers Indus and Ganga and Brahmaputra and their tributaries. So because of this river, this place is rich in alluvium. The length of the plain is about 2,400 kilometer, and the width varies from 240 to 320 kilometer. Okay, so the length of the plain, so it covers the total areas covers 2,400 kilometers, and the width varies from 240 to 320 kilometer, and it covers an area over 7 lakh square kilometer. Okay, so total area. Okay, so the total area, if we calculate it, comes around 7 lakh square kilometer. They formed mostly by the deposition process of the Himalayan and the Vindhya rivers. So the deposition brought by the Himalayan and Vindhyan rivers are main reason for the formation of this Great Northern Plains. Next, we are going to see sediment deposition, the Babar Plain. Okay, so we saw this great plain is formed because of the sediment brought out by the rivers Ganga, Brahmaputra, and Yamuna. Okay, so the first plain is called as the Babar Plain. This Babar Plain is made up of gravels and unsorted sediments. What do you mean by this gravel, ma? Small pebbles. So here you can see the pebbles and unsorted sediment. That means which could not be divided, which could not be decomposed. And it is deposited by the Himalayan rivers. So these are all brought by the Himalayan rivers and deposited here. Here the porosity of the plain is so high that most of the small stream flow over this region disappear. Here the porosity, okay. So here the porosity of the plain is so high. So whatever the streams flow here, it will disappear. It seems to disappear, but actually it will flow under this pebbles. But it seems like it disappear because of this pebble, and because of the porosity, the water, the small streams seems to be disappear, but actually it is flow under this pebbles. It lies to the south of the Siva Lake from west to east. So the places, the south of the Siva Lake from west to east is called by the name Baba Plain. Its width varies from 8 to 15 kilometer. What is its width? It varies from 8 to 15 kilometer. This plain is not suitable for cultivation, only big trees. So you can, from this you can see, if it is a pebbles, how can the cultivation is possible? No, the cultivation is not possible, and it is also not suitable. So only the big trees can be seen in this Babar plains. Next, we are going to see the Terai tract. Okay, so next, the followed by the Babar plain is called as a Terai tract. It is a zone of excessive dampness, thick forest, and rich wildlife. So here you have the heavy flow of river, and the moisture, it contains excessive moisture, and so the thick forest. So here we can find, we can see the thick forest and rich wildlife. So because of this river, it have the excessive dampness, and because of the thick forest and with the rich wildlife, we can see in the Terai tract. This tract lies to the south of the Babar plains. So we saw south Babar plain, and after the Babar plain we'll have the Terai tract, and its width of this belt is varies from 15 to 30 kilometer. It is wider in the eastern parts due to heavy rainfall. So in the eastern side, it is wider, and while it's going to the west, it is become narrow. In many states, the Terai forests have been cleared for the cultivations. We saw this here, the forest. Here we can see the thick forest. So because of this richness, the forest has been cleared and used for the cultivation. See here you can see this is Himalayas. Followed by the Himalayas, we'll have the Babar. And next to the Babar, we have the Terai. Next, we are going to see the Banga plains. The Banga represent the upland alluvial tract of the great Himalayan India. Here you can see the alluvial tract, the alluvium, the more alluvium here, formed by the older alluvium. So this alluvium is formed from the older alluvium. We know what is alluvium. Alluvium is nothing but the sediments brought by the river. Older alluvium, it has been deposited for long back, since it is called as a older alluvium. So the newer alluvium is formed from the older alluvium, where in the Banga place. It lies above the flood limits of the river. What do you mean by the flood limit, ma? The often flood will occur in the places. So that is called as the flood limit places. Here it is above the, so here the flood will not occur. So it is above the flood limit of the river. Here the soil is dark in color, rich in humus, well drained, and useful for the agriculture. So what is the color of the soil? Here is black, and it is rich in humus, rich in moisture, and it is best for the agriculture. Next, we are going to see the Khadar plains. So we have seen the older alluvium place is the Banga plain, and the new alluvium is called as a Khadar plain. So here the new alluvium tract can find in this tract, and it will be along the courses of the river. So if it is the river, so both the sides called as a Khadar, and this green is called as a Bangar. So near the river, either side of both the side of the river is called by Kadar, and the far away from the river plain is called as a Bangar. So this place here you'll see the older alluvium, and here you'll see the newer alluvium. This is the above the flood limit, and here is the flood place. Okay, here it is the flood limit place. It is above the flood limit place. Why it is the flood place? Because it is near the river. So here you cannot see the older alluvium. Here everything that it will be washed out, and the new sediments of the new alluvium will be deposited here. So here we can find the new alluvium, and it is a flood. It is between the flood limit place, and here Bangar, it is above the flood limit place. Here we cannot have the floods, and also it is filled with the older alluvium, and it is black in color. So the agriculture can be easily taken in the Banga plains. Next, come to Kadar plains. Okay. So the new alluvium tract along the coast of the river are known as a Kadar or a bedland. So it is also called as a bedlands. It is enriched by fresh deposits of silt every year. Since it is near the river, so new deposits, fresh deposits of floods can be available every year. That means after the rainy season. It consists of sand, silt, clay, and mud. Why it is contains? Because of the river. So it contains sand, silt, clay, and mud. Because of all this place is very fertile. Last, we are going to see in this plain is the delta plain. What do you mean by the delta, ma? The place where the river go and join the sea is called as a delta plains. So it is an extension of the Kadar land. So next to the Kadar land or extension of the Kadar land is the delta plain, the place where the river meets the sea. It covers about 1.9 lakh square kilometer in the lower reaches of the Ganga rivers. So the place where the Ganga river reaches, it covers the place of 1.9 lakh square kilometer. It consists mainly of old mud, new mud, and marshes. In the delta, we can have the old mud, new mud, and the marsh. Okay. So these uplands are called chars. So where the river meets the sea, the sediment brought by the sea, they will deposit it here. So the land become uplands, and the uplands are called by chars. While the marshy areas are called bells. So the sluggish area is called by name bells. So the upland are called chars, and the sluggish area are called by bells. See here you can see where is the Babama. Here it is the Babar, and this yellowish is called as a terai. In between this, you can see the disintegration or the discontinuation of the river because of